Hey everyone, my name is Matthew and I'm here to help. I got a question the other day about setting up Excel DNA with F Sharp. And it's a really great question. Excel DNA is this fantastic project for allowing someone to write .NET code that integrates with Excel, which is fantastic, but there is a little bit of a process for setting that up. And instead of writing out a blog post, I thought it would be really helpful to actually walk someone through the process of setting it up. Because when you write a blog post, sometimes you leave out details that are really important. And so if I took you through just my messy process so you could watch it and reference it, I thought that'd be really valuable. So here I am kind of just struggling through. So forgive me if it's a little clunky. Forgive me if it's not super polished, but I want this to be helpful to you. So I'm gonna take you from nothing to being able to use F Sharp in your Excel. So what I'm gonna do, and when I gesture in this direction, just so you know, I'm pointing at my working monitor. So I'm not just pointing off in the distance. So I'm going to open up Visual Studio. I'm going to create a new solution. I'm going to add Excel DNA as a project. As a plugin, as a package. And then I'm going to get it working. I'm going to show you how you can set a breakpoint and debug it. So here we go. I am opening up Visual Studio. And I'm going to go ahead and say create a new project. Click on that. In this case, I'm just filtering by F Sharp projects because that's what I do. And I'm going to scroll all the way down. And what I'm looking for is the library.NET framework. Right now, Excel DNA depends on .NET framework. There's work going on to have it target .NET 5. We're not there yet. I know there's a lot of confusion, so right now it's from my understanding it's limited to .NET framework. But I'm recording this as of 2021 January 9th. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, library.NET framework. I'm going to say next. I'm going to say, hey, my Excel DNA project. I'm going to put it where my repos are placed. Same solution name. I'm targeting .NET Framework 4.7.2. Okay. I clicked create, and hopefully this is going to create a solution. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the project, and then I'm going to come down to manage NuGet packages. I left click. I'm going to start with install, but then I'm going to go ahead and click on browse. I'm going to search for Excel.DNA. I'm going to press enter. And the NuGet package I'm looking for is exceldna.addin. So I left clicked on that. Right now I'm looking at 1.1.1 as the most recent stable version. I'm going to say, hey, go ahead and install. I'm going to say, okay. And this gives me some release information saying like, hey, you're using this package, what's going on? Feel free to read through this, but hopefully the guide that I'm providing you is going to get you through this. There's some idiosyncrasies, which is why I am recording this, and my apologies, it's a little clunky. First of all, in this project, I really don't care about having a script file, so I'm going to right click and say delete. I don't need it. I've installed Excel DNA, and I'm getting this error here. And this error has to do with the fact that the way NuGet packages are referenced in a proj file, specifically fs proj file, has changed. And so when you install the NuGet package, it's no longer able to run a PowerShell script afterwards in order to set some things up. So normally, Excel DNA would have done some of the behind the scenes work that you needed to make it work. but now it doesn't. So we're going to have to do some of that manually, which is why I'm recording this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the project file, which brings up this XML. I'm looking at this, and I'm just going to like take you through some motions. Don't worry about the why, just like trust me. So in this case, this line 15 here where it says include assets, runtime, build native content files, you don't need that. So you want to delete this line. And the way I do it is I hold down shift and I hit the delete key and it just goes away. Cool, that's great. Now, one of the other things I need to do is I need to add some more property information. And I'm going to let you know I'm cheating a little bit. I have some information that I'm referencing, so I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it into this fsproj file. So I'm going to give myself some space. And I'm going to go ahead and expand and show you this whole thing. I got a property group here, and let me do some formatting. So I got a property group. The first thing is Excel DNA allow package reference project style. That's the new project reference style. And I want that to be true. And the run Excel DNA set debugger options false, right? So these are kind of things that that PowerShell script in the past would have done for you, but we're now doing manually, which is fine. So I go ahead and I hit Control S to save this. Now, something I want to do is I need to add a file to this project so that it all works. And this is a DNA file, which is actually XML. It's part of how Excel DNA works. And so I'm going to go ahead and right click on the project and say, hey, new item. In this case, I say text file. And it's kind of important how you name this file. You want it to be the name of your project. So my Excel DNA project. And then you want to say dash add in dot DNA. All right. So this part is whatever the project name it is that you're working with. So I did my Excel DNA project because that corresponds to my Excel DNA project dash add in dot DNA. And I say, go ahead and add. And this is empty initially. So again, I'm doing some kind of copy and paste to make sure that this actually works correctly. So this first line, say, hey, DNA library. In this case, I'm going to change some names here. I want to change this to whatever the project name is again. So my Excel DNA project add-in. And again, I'm going to do the same thing here, which instead of test, I'm going to change this all to the name of my project. So my Excel DNA project. Going to go ahead and save that. And you see that this is kind of complaining here. So, oh, I don't like this. Something's going on, but it's not going to be warnings. So what I have found is that installing the Excel DNA package and getting this set up, there's like some clunkiness that happens. So like you might need to like install it, close Visual Studio, restart Visual Studio. So I'm going to try to get everything set up first. I'm going to close Visual Studio, reopen it, and see if that resolves it. So I installed the Excel DNA NuGet package. I've added this my Excel DNA project dash add-in DNA file. And I'm going to change this code here from the default to just a really simple function that I want to use from Excel. So this is kind of stripped right from the Excel DNA documentation in their example. So there's like There's not much to explain here. You can go reference their docs. But basically, like, hey, this is like an attribute that I can add to a function. It says like, hey, this is something I want to be able to use from the Excel. So hopefully we'll be able to use this function from Excel once this project is all working. So in theory, when I hit F5 to debug this, Excel will open and hello DNA is going to be a function I can use inside of cells. In theory, we might have to kind of work our way through this to get this to work. Now, here's what's interesting. I'm right-clicking on this project file. I go down to Properties, and I come down to Debug. Now, I'm going to have to change some things here. Now, what I'm trying to do is say, like, hey, when I hit F5 and I go into debug mode, what I want it to do ideally is to say, hey, open up Excel, add this plugin I've created so that I can use it. So that's what I'm going to set up right now. Now, here's what's really important. You will notice that right now my configuration is any CPU. Cool, great. You need to be aware of the version of Office that you have installed in your machine. And what I mean by version, are you running the 32-bit version of Office or the 64-bit? Because that's going to become important in this next step. So instead of launch the project, we're going to click on it and we're going to say executable. And then we're going to give it the path to Excel. And in my case, I have 64-bit Excel running. So it is at C, well, my mistake. No, yeah, 64-bit. C, Program Files, Microsoft Office, Root, Office 16, and come down here to Excel. Basically, I'm telling Visual Studio, this is where the Excel executable is. I'm going to click on it, and then I say Open. Great. And then the argument I need to give to it is I need to give it the path to where this extension is going to be. So right now I held down Control-Shift-S to save everything. I hit F5 to build it. And now this is kind of opening up Excel. I'm not ready yet because I haven't given it the path to the plugin. And I realize this is a little clunky, but I think it's valuable for you to see kind of like how messy this can be. So I started it, but I don't have the path to the plugin. So I told it to stop. I'm right-clicking on the project. I'm saying, hey, open folder in File Explorer. And in my case, there it is. My program is targeting any CPU, 32-bit. So I'm clicking on bin, debug, net472. If you scroll down, you're going to see these different packages. So this is what's important. My project is targeting any CPU, but my Excel is 64-bit. And you see these two different add-ins, these .xlls. Those are the things that are going to be loaded into Excel, which has your code in it. You need to choose the one that corresponds to your version of Office. In my case, it's 64-bit. So I click on the 64-bit. I hold down Shift. I right-click, and I say Copy as Path. The Shift right-click Copy as Path has been a game changer for me. Copy as Path. I come back to my project. I come back to my debug, and I Control-V to paste, saying, hey, this is the plugin I want you to load Excel. So when I hit F5, Excel is going to start up. It's going to load this plugin. And so my code that I write in this project should be available. Now, this could be extremely embarrassing. You see, I still have a yellow triangle here. Normally, I think this would go away if I closed Visual Studio and reopened it. But I'm gonna live a little dangerously and just go ahead and try this and see what happens. So I'm hitting F5, starting it up. And if I'm really lucky, this is gonna work. If not, we're gonna have a really valuable experience where you see me debugging this and trying to figure out, hey, what isn't working? So because our plugin is not signed, we're getting this security warning, which is completely valid. And there's ways to actually sign plugins for Excel DNA. I won't go into it, but they do have documentation on how to do that. So if you want to, great. For now, I'm gonna say, hey, enable this add-in for this session only. Empty Excel. I'm gonna say, hey, blank workbook. I'm gonna start typing in a formula. And in theory, the hello DNA function should be available. Hello DNA. And I'm going to put in my name. Fantastic. Hello, Matthew. Now, to prove that this is actually working, I'm coming back to Visual Studio. I'm going to the Solution Explorer and going down to Library, and I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Now, in theory, I called this function Hello DNA from Excel, and I put my name in. So let's see if we could actually hit that breakpoint now. And this is part of why I get so excited about Excel DNA. So going over here, I'm going to say, hey, hello DNA, and I'm going to put in chicken. And if I hit enter, I should hit that breakpoint, right? Boom. Amazing. So I'm working in Excel. I have a plugin written in F#, and I was able to hit a breakpoint in my IDE while working with Excel. And it says like, hey, you called this function, this Excel function, you provided a parameter, chicken, and it's going to create a new string for me. And I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And I'm taken back to Excel, and it says, hello, chicken. So fantastic. This is why I get so absurdly pumped about Excel DNA and what we can do with F#. Very excited. I wanted to walk you through that process of like setting up a project because it's so easy to screw it up. If you have any questions, please let me know. I've gone through this on several different machines, and I want to make it easy for you. So thank you so much, and you have a fantastic time making people's lives better with code. Good night.